pretty much flow with the goal.
We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
If you want to fight, let's fight right now. I guarantee you, man, you wake up on the ditch. Let's do it.
Okay, UFC 187, and this is the most stacked card of the year so far. And it's been a good year for the UFC fights. Unbelievable to think this card was actually better than it is what it still is.
Yeah. I think, was this the card that they originally slated to be their first one in New York City?
It could,
and that's why it was all stacked up.
That's why it was stacked.
Didn't go through or something like that. I can't remember, but
could very well
rings
be.
a bell.
But it was an awesomely stacked card.
Yeah.
That unfortunately lost two big names, and I mean the biggest being John Jones, of course.
Yep.
And Khabib Nurmagomedov. Oh, geez, that was close.
Nurmagomedov.
But you know, it's still got a lot to offer, even from the undercard.
Yep.
So let's start. Let's go fight for fight. Let's start at the bottom of the undercard with Justin Scoggins versus Josh Sampo. One of the things I love about this undercard is the awesome names, like Scoggins. It's just, that's a fighting name if you ever heard of it.
It just sounds like he'd be in the car park of some pub, just taking on all comers or something.
I tell you what, like, you have to be a bit of a non-traditionalist to fight in the UFC with the nickname Tank.
Well, I'm going to say, because there is one bloke that kind of made that name already.
Tank Abbott. I mean,
different weight divisions, very much so.
Yeah, but he casts a big shadow figuratively and literally.
Yeah, but he can't read, so I don't think he knows he's stolen his name.
Like, if he corners you, you're fucked. But, you know, if you can get a bit of a 5 metre head start and a bit of a jog, you're probably going all right.
You'd probably be all right. So Justin Scoggins, his only 2 losses have been in his last 2 UFC fights against Dustin Ortiz and Josh Moraga.
Johnny Moraga.
Did I say Josh? Sorry about that.
Right.
So he's coming off 2 losses, as is Josh Sampo. So both these fighters are looking... One of them's going to go 3 in a row for losses, and that doesn't look good.
Yeah, and I think they're kicking off this card, and I think whoever doesn't win is probably kicked off full top.
Yep. Yeah, it's always tricky when you see fighters step up, because both of them only got 1 or 2 fights in the UFC besides their losses. So they've got UFC wins, but you know, a single win for
I think a win each.
Yeah, and if you 1 and 2 after you've stepped up to the big leagues, you kind of can't afford to go 1 and 3.
No, like it's exactly what Ben just said. You know, 3 losses in a row. There's not many people that hang on to their contract after that.
No, only the guys that are willing to step up at late notice and have really put in time with the company tend to be able to fight through that.
Yeah,
I think Dan Hardy might be the only one that's probably still hanging on, even though he's not sure he's retired yet or not.
The Justin's also got a 7-year age advantage in this one, and I say advantage. They're still both around the same number of fights.
Yeah.
American Top Team versus Rodrigo Vaz Jiu-Jitsu. So I think that you'd hope that Josh Sampo can have the advantage on the ground if you're basing your game off jiu-jitsu. But look, Justin's got some good submissions on his record as well.
It's funny, though, you say a 7-year advantage to the 23-year-old. Honestly, I reckon a lot of these fighters don't hit their peak till around 26, 27, because at 23, they're still sort of getting that old man toughness about them. It tends to hit later than a lot of more precision sports.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not... the technique can take a little bit longer for it to develop in. But you're certainly not past it at 30 either.
No, not at all.
You've got some good years ahead of us. But it's really the only main difference. I mean, these guys are similar experience-wise. But like we said, 2 losses each in their last 2 fights. So they're going to have to come out and really go for it.
Well, American Top Team getting their ass kicked to the Ultimate Fighter.
They're going to want to show something.
They could use some positive publicity at the moment. So...
look, and I think I'm going to go with the Tank on this one. He hasn't been that bad in his losses, but he's really going to need to turn this one on to keep his job.
Yeah, I'm going with Scoggins as well.
No, I'm going to stick with Sampo, just because his name's the Gremlin.
Kind of looks like JDS.
Doesn't he look like a small JDS? Yeah. Okay, fight number 2 is the gift to everybody. It's Islam Makhachev. I'm going to go with it. That's how that name's pronounced. The other one I know I can pronounce correctly, Leo Kuntz.
Yeah.
And go. I know you got something prepared, so let's go.
Well, I was going to say, if there was anyone we were ever going to sponsor, it's got to be this cunt. It's got to be this cunt. And I mean, we don't have any money, so we're not going to do it. But I mean, I totally would. But Redock fucking stole that shit.
No, I don't think we should sponsor him. Like, his nickname's the Lion, so he's a Lion Cunts.
Well, which sets me up perfectly for my next one. I'd really just want to see the headline. Islam defeated by the lion cunts. I'm pretty sure Islam's under attack for some lion cunts at the moment, so it's be interesting to see that one out there.
Well, cunts can take a pounding too. He just keeps on going.
This is true. That's when you're a tough cunt.
The problem is if he gets his guard penetrated, he turns to water.
Turns to water.
If he gets too sweaty, things can get really slippery too.
Yeah, it says a lot about your cunts.
All right, so
I got more.
We got more, do we?
No.
Thank God. We're also saying, going through, should we say the Lion?
Yep.
Going through the Lion's record, this is his UFC debut. And he's fought in some weird and wonderful organisations, including beat down at Four Bears 10.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was an actual bear he fought.
But who else but the cunts could fight at the Playboy fight night?
You got to love that.
I don't reckon they even saw his tapes or anything before that. They just booked him on the name alone.
Yep. Got sucker punch too.
Yeah, probably got sucked off as well.
Yeah, he got a nice little DQ win. He's coming up against the undefeated Russian Islam Makhachev, also making his UFC debut. He signed a 4-fight deal. When you say he's Russian with a Sambo judo background, fighting the UFC, he's everything you would expect him to be. Just one hard nut.
He looks like he's been training against bears.
Yeah.
We're looking at some of those fights. They're in a cage, look like it's in the ocean. I reckon it's probably in the Arctic or something. No, we have first fight is ours.
It's everything you'd expect him to be. I think this is going to be a really great fight for the undercard, for the two guys making their UFC debut. Again, looking to make a big show of it.
Yeah.
I'm on the Russian on this one. I hate going against the Russians.
Well, he's Dagestani, isn't he? So he's probably mixed up with Khabib Nurmagomedov and those fellas. He was Sambo champion as well, which obviously going to have good throws and a good base to get the fight to the ground. Yeah,
Sambo judo background, which kind of go hand in hand, so to speak. But so he's going to look to get in close, hurt him on the outside with the kicks, get in close, grab him, throw him down, and ground and pound out for the win.
Yeah, he's going to pound that cunts.
He's 11-0, but from what the footage we were watching, his competition didn't seem too much chop.
No.
However, he looked really good.
Yeah, I'm going to say he looked like he was a class above the rest of the competition, which you need to be if you're going to go from the others.
And he said he'd spent some time training at AKA as well, didn't it? So, I mean, there's no slouches there either.
I mean, one criticism you get of a lot of judokas is that they don't punch that well or take punches. He seemed to punch pretty bloody well to me.
Yep. Yeah, done a lot of kickboxing in his time. So a real mixed martial artist, coming from a lot of styles.
I think that's exciting to see now. Like, you're not getting any more one dominant style fighters coming through.
Yeah,
like the young lads, they're all mixed martial artists from day one. That's what they've trained to be, and they're walking into the gym on the first day thinking, "I want to fight in the UFC one day."
Yep.
So I've got cunts. I'm going cunts.
You're going cunts
just so I can come back. He's 17-1, fighting out of ATT. So yeah, I'm on him.
No, I'm on the mad Russian. It's got to be the Russian, and we've got to get the Russian name surely by the end of this fight.
I think the real winner of this fight is us.
Yeah, I mean, if Islam can beat Leo the Lion, the nicknames just write themselves, don't they?
Yep.
He's got to be, if he beats up the cunts, I mean, he's got to be Islam the Cock. It's got to be something. I mean, the nicknames just write themselves.
Trust me, I reckon we'll have about 200 by next week.
If you get sponsored, like, how is no one sponsoring Leo though? Like, I think Tampax would jump on that or some crap.
Well, he hasn't lost yet, so he hasn't really needed much, stemming of his.
Apparently, he's not very approachable though. He's a bit of a stuck-up cunt.
Oh, geez, what if Islam opens him up? Oh, cunts is bleeding everywhere.
Oh, Joe's got to be all over it, surely.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason to watch this fight. I mean, it'll be a great fight. The only reason to watch it though is just to see how they go.
Yeah.
With the names.
I want to hear Goldie.
I'd love to just do alternate commentary just for that fight.
If we're allowed to, we would.
Except we get sued.
Okay, fight number 3 of the 3 fights. We got Mike Quicksand Pyle, the world's deadliest mullet since Roy Nelson, versus Colby Chaos Covington. He's got to do something about that name because he sounds like the forgotten tag team partner of Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
That's funny. I was just thinking it sounded like Butters. Professor Chaos. He looks like he's just getting his driver's license shot on his publicity photo.
Doesn't he?
He's a late call-up for Mike Pyle, filling in. It's 7-0 as well, so you know that you do that kind of thing, you're going to get lots more jobs.
Well, yeah, I think if you're a late call-up, you've kind of got one in the bank.
Yep.
You can afford to take a loss. You don't want to, because if you get the win, that's even fucking better. But he's committing to the company, helping Dana out, and Dana tends to appreciate that.
7 wins and 0 losses, and 5 coming from submissions. So looks like he doesn't mind getting down and dirty with it.
He's fighting out of American Top Team, which I think is their 3rd fight representative in a row.
3rd in a row, yeah.
So American Top Team are either going to have a good night or they're looking to set up their losing streak for the fighter right into the biggest pay-per-view of the year.
I'm going to say it's not going to be good for their publicity's.
Yep.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ultimate Fighter's it's already been recorded and we're behind playing catch-up, so they know the result. But it could be a potential disaster for American Top Team signing this up, which we don't want because I want to see more of team versus team on
Team
Ultimate
versus
Fighter.
team's working so well, yeah. Versus the veteran Mike Pyle. I had a look. He's been fighting since 1999, and in the UFC since about 2009, I think.
He still looks in pretty good nick too. He hasn't been beat up. He's not punch drunk.
He's always looking after himself. But amazing, have a 10-year career before the UFC, and he's still hanging around.
Jeez, how long do you have to be in the UFC before you get life membership, you reckon?
I think, he's got to be close to it, surely. He's one of those guys that, is always good. Hey, we need another fight on the card.
Yep.
Here he is, punching the clock.
6'1" too, so he's fairly tall for the welterweight range. It's a fairly nice size. I think he has a history in kickboxing as well, doesn't he? Or Muay Thai or something like that.
But at this stage, I mean, he's 16 years into his MMA career. I think he can call it a genuine MMA.
It's just why call yourself Quicksand? Like you're sinking, like especially when his name's Mike Pyle. I thought Goma would have been a gimme, or Weight Pile, or I don't know,
Driver.
Yeah, Pile Driver. Go with that.
Mike the Driver Pyle. It just doesn't really work, does it? He could call himself Hemorrhoids. I bust up your ass. I don't know. He didn't think it through, obviously.
No, I'm sure there's a reason for Quicksand. Like, maybe he wants people to think that they're drowning and suffocating. Who knows? It's one of those ones that he must have had it so long that he's kind of he can't jump away yet.
Somebody else gave it to him or something like that, and he's like, "No, I don't like it." And then everyone started calling him like, "Oh shit, I'm stuck with it now."
There's probably a completely reasonable reason for it. It's like something I probably got stuck in quicksand.
Yep, that's
one day I got stuck in quicksand. Wait, quicksand. That's it.
That's right, because it's little known this, but he used to actually be in a cartoon in the 80s. That's the only place you ever see fucking quicksand.
Yeah, true.
But I think Mike Pyle's got too much experience. He's going to be a step up in class for Colby. I'm on the veteran for this one.
No, I'm going with Chaos. I'm basing that on
Your love
very little fact.
Love of alliteration.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm going with Mike Pyle. No other reason that Colby's a wrestler out of ATT, and generally it's pretty boring as shit. So I want Mike to throw some legs, throw some knees.
No, I'm just seeing Chaos's ears. There's a fair bit of cauliflower, so it should have been Colby Cauliflower Covington. That would have been much better.
That would have been much better. I was just trying to think. I think he was he first div NCAA wrestling? Sorry, I'm just checking. Out of Oregon State, so yeah, good wrestling school as well. All American in 2011. The best base for MMA is wrestling.
Yep.
Let's see how he goes against a real veteran. Coming off a couple of a rear naked choke win and a couple of other submissions in his last few fights. So good to see a good fight for him at a good time of his career. But I'm still behind Mike.
Well, see how it goes.
And first fight on the prelim card now. We've got the one and only women's match for the event. We got Rose Thug Namajunas versus Nina the Strina Ansaroff.
Yeah, it's bullshit. Pansaroff has to be her name.
Name has to be Pansaroff, surely. But if you want to go the rhyming fucking name, Nina the Strina, what the fuck is a Strina?
Well, maybe we've got it wrong. Maybe it's Striner. As in, like, Nina Striner put dicks in her cunts.
Did you have a stroke?
Well, I couldn't go the obvious route.
Well, you did. You went the obvious route, yeah. It's going to be a common theme, I think, talking through this card is just having to go at their names. But Nina the Strina, I mean, go back. Surely these guys have access to a marketing department or something. That's just horrible, and I can't pick her on that alone.
I think women's MMA has been undervalued, I think, for quite a while. Rousey has probably been responsible for taking it on her shoulders, and she's one of the most recognisable MMA fighters out at the moment, guys or girls. And everyone's sort of along in her wake. No one's at her level. But honestly, the amount of action you get in a lot of the women's MMA fights, especially girls like this, it's going to be a great fight. I really am looking forward to watching it. Because they're both very attacking fighters. They'll both come out and try and knock each other's head off, and it'll be a fantastic... I expect a finish, and I think it'll be a good watch.
Well, Rose always goes hard. She's got lots of heart. She's only relatively new to fighting mixed martial arts, but she's the partner of Pat Barry, who loves to go in there and throw some big fucking kicks, and she's shown that she's got heart. Probably not as well polished as some of the other fighters around, but she'll give it 100%.
I think that's the thing with the women's division. Once you get past the sort of the top 2 or 3, it isn't very polished. I mean, even at UFC Adelaide, we saw some great fights, but they weren't pretty fights. Yeah. This could be a bit of that too. Like you're saying, Rose is only a 5th professional fight.
Yep.
Both fighters have a taekwondo and jiu-jitsu background.
Yep.
Yeah, and Ansaroff sounds very much like a Russian tennis player. So
it does, especially Nina.
Yeah, and so you combine that with taekwondo, expect a lot of yelling. It'll be a very noisy fight.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's going to be more grunting than... Okay, we'll look back to the cunts, yeah.
I'd like to see Reebok bring out a shoe called the Striner. It's got a ring to it, I think.
It's got a ring to it.
Yeah, it could be marketing genius, I reckon.
Could be a bit slippery. We all think Rose?
Yeah, Rose. When you look at who's... Like, Rose is coming off 2 losses, but they're to 2 champion female fighters. Esperanza, which...
literally was a championship fight.
Yeah.
That was her last fight back in December last year.
And then Tisha Torres, she's top quality as well. Like we were saying before, that Ronda Rousey's head and shoulders above all the other women in MMA. No one's close. But those are the girls who've been at it long enough and have worked hard enough that they're the next step.
And the thing is, also, it's been talked about with the last championship fight in this division where it was Carla Esparza versus JJ.
Yep.
And JJ just gave her a touch up, kicked her ass.
It was they weren't in the same class.
Yeah.
Not even close.
And also what happened today, I think it was today or yesterday, Jessica Aguilar from Invicta, their 115-pound champ, got released to come to the UFC. So she's probably going to be jumping in line for a title shot relatively soon.
Yep.
So it's really heating up at the top end. So this fight could possibly be a... sort of for that 2 down to 5th spot.
Sort of almost like not a number 1 contender, but certainly an eliminator to get to that spot.
Yeah, to put yourself in that top 5, I reckon.
Well, look, I mean, it's a women's fight. It's the only women's fight on the biggest card of the year.
And a new division for the women as well. So it's not that strong to begin with.
Young division, yeah.
But there are recruiting going on, which is going to beef that division up.
Actually, did you see Rousey had a bit of an interview today where she talked a bit of smack?
Oh, fancy that,
as usual.
Who fucking could guess that?
No, as opposed, like, she's always having a crack at Cyborg, but this one, they were talking about how she said she reckons she could take some of the men in her weight division.
Yeah.
And they, because of the recent sporting history, they've thrown up Floyd Mayweather. And she threw out, the only time I'd hit him was if we were dating. And I thought, that's not a bad one.
I reckon she's lying. I reckon she'd hit him anyway. I reckon she would too.
I'm going to say, the last I saw, she had a win over Turtle. But that's coming up in the Entourage movie.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, she had a win over that crazy chick in Fast and Furious as well.
Okay, so Rose, we think all the way around.
Yeah. I think she's just going to be too aggressive. All right, and back on to tennis players. Rafael Nadal is fighting Uriah Primetime Hall.
Had Rafael. Is
I was
it
going to say,
Rafael?
Uncle Hanash would be fucking pissed off right now.
No, you'd have to say it'd be Rafael Sapo Natal.
Yeah, it is Rafael Natal.
I wonder how many times he's heard the Rafael Nadal jokes. Because I think I'd still have to spend a good half an hour if I ever met him.
Depends how many of you punch in the face afterwards. So probably a direct correlation there. I reckon.
I'd get a couple in, I reckon, and it'd still be worth it. Look, it feels like it's been years since Uriah Hall's been on The Ultimate Fighter, and one of the most dominant performances on The Ultimate Fighter since probably Roy Nelson.
Until the finale.
One of the scariest.
Until the finale, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about dominant, but he damn near killed two blokes.
He had Bubba like just about shitting his pants, and definitely just anxiety attack because he had to fight him.
Yeah.
And I think the big part of that was Uriah Hall knocked him out damn cold, and then he was apologetic for it.
Yeah.
So it's not like he was a bulldozer who was trying to kill people. He was just that vicious that even without meaning to, he'd knock motherfuckers well out.
And as soon as he came out of the house, though, we didn't see the same killer instinct from him. You know, he was. I think arrogance lost him the UFC, Ultimate Fighter finale.
Yep.
And he followed it up with another uninspiring split decision loss.
Yep.
And then we finally got to see the killer instinct again when he retired Chris Lieben.
Yep.
We need to see more of that from him because he was penned as this guy could go anywhere and do anything. And we still haven't seen it yet. But he's strung a couple of wins together. He needs another win here.
Yeah, and they're both stand-up. Sorry.
No, go. Against a legit guy.
They're both stand-up fighters, but it should be really exciting. Even with Natal's loss to Tim Kennedy, they put on an awesome performance for that entire first round until he got knocked out. But
yeah, I mean, if you take that as a points fight, he won.
Yeah, exactly. But so they're both capable of stand-up, exciting fighting. It's just a matter of what their strategy will be. I hope they're not standoffish and looking to counterpunch. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit of a dance in there.
Yeah, I can't see Hall doing that well. I think if he does that, it'll be for the first round, and then he'll just, I want this.
Yeah, I don't see him being... I think he's got that arrogance out of it, and he knows that he's a mid-carder here. He's not a main eventer like he thought he was, but he's worked hard, and he's strung 3 wins together in his last 3 fights.
Yep.
So it looks like he's on the way up.
And I think, though, choosing the name Primetime, when you're a mid-carder, it just seems like a little bit off.
Uriah mid-card Hall just doesn't have the same ring. Though.
Yeah, no. What would you... Hall? Uriah brick wall Hall? I don't know.
Probably just... yeah, who knows?
How about Uriah? Remember that fucking kick from the house, Hall? Sorry.
So Uriah's last fight, he actually put on a really good performance for how long the fight lasted, but it was stopped by a cut over the eye, I believe, by the doctor. And there was lots of adverse reaction to it because it was an exciting fight, and even Uriah apologised afterwards, saying he wanted to put on a better performance. And so you can look at this one and say, on his form, seems like that sort of expectation and that pressure from before in the UFC might be off him.
A bit of maturity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Look, I think he might get this one out if he goes all out.
Yep.
He's got the size advantage.
Yep.
Rafael's no joke though. I mean, coming out of Henzo as well.
Yep.
It's a legit. This is another great matchup.
Yep.
They've done really well.
Yeah, the only problem I can see with this card is that you may not get the full time out of it.
Yeah.
You might end up having to show the dark matches at the end because I can see a lot of results coming, not a lot of decisions on this card.
I hope so.
I'm going for Hall, but I think this fight will probably come down to what Uriah rocks up and what his game plan is, how this fight will go. Because I think Natal was always going to go forward and go for knockouts.
I absolutely think Hall can win it, but my money's on Natal because I think Hall might get a little ahead of himself. And I think Natal's a better campaigner. He's going to try and frustrate him for the first round and then finish him in the second.
Okay, next fight in the welterweight division, we got Josh, the People's Warrior Berkman, versus the stun gun, Dong Hyun Kim.
Now, the thing is, before this fight's even done, I already know the next fight they should make. They've got to make the Dong versus the Cunts.
Oh, I tell you,
they're in the same weight category. The T-shirt sales alone.
It's got a headline of Fight Night, surely. Just, you got to get in, get out, get in, get out, get in, and then it's all over.
If there's everyone to watch with your missus, you both got a team to cheer for.
I'm on Team Cunts.
I just hoping you both get along. Obviously, a hug and...
It's kind of funny. He's Dong Hyun Stun Gun Kim. stun gun, really?
I think
Just-
it's awesome. There's nothing wrong with that.
Just the dong.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't fly in South Korea as much. But look, Dong Hyun Kim, 19-3 record. His last loss was against Tyrone Woodley.
Yep.
In his last outing. He would have been looking to move up the categories and starting, get a bit of a higher ranking and look towards title fights.
Absolutely.
But before he ran into Tyrone there. So this is a good chance to put himself back in the contention for some decent rankings against a real veteran, Josh Berkman from The Ultimate Fighter 2. Before he's had a few losses back in 2008 in the UFC, and he went off World Series of Fighting and a few other organisations.
He did.
And now he's back in the UFC. Consummate professional, typical all-rounder as well.
Student of mixed martial arts too, always learning, always trying to adapt and put new things into his repertoire. But his last loss in the UFC was against Pete Sell. So you remember when Pete Sell was fighting? It was fucking ages ago. So he has been around. He's been a campaigner.
Well, yeah, kind of. I mean, technically his last loss was against a roided up Hector Lombard, split decision, which got turned into a no contest.
Yep.
So he'll be happy to be fighting a human instead of a horse.
And see, I still don't get why that gets put into a no contest. If you cheat,
It's
you
a
should
lot.
get
It should be a
DQ'd,
loss. It should be a loss. I agree, 100%.
He had a win over John Fitch, who was roided up too. So
Unfortunately, he wasn't. Still wasn't interesting. I bet.
Well, you got a technical submission, which that's interesting to start with because a technical submission means he went out.
Was that the one? I think I remember it. It was Steve Mazzagatti because Berkman stopped the fight.
yeah,
Mazzagatti, in typical Mazzagatti
way
fashion,
too late.
didn't know what was going on. But
Yep.
Berkman looked at him, said he's out, and stood up and went, "There,
Yeah.
why
I don't want to kill the bloke. Yeah.
Why haven't you fucking stopped the fight?" So it shows that he's a smart man. And he's not not just a savage.
Yeah. And Dong 19-3, and if you look at that
amazing.
last no contest, if he gets that win, I mean, it's amazing that he's only been there or thereabouts with that record, and he's been fighting. Oh, sorry, his last one was against
Tyrone Woodley.
Sorry,
Josh Berkman had the no contest.
that's right. Yeah, Josh.
But I mean, you have a look at his losses. He's only got 3 losses:
Yeah.
Tyrone Woodley, Damian Maia, Carlos Condit.
Yeah.
So it's showing that he's just below that level.
And those are all TKOs though, and to flying knee and punches, rib injury, and punches, which
So body shots, yeah.
yeah. So his ability to defend his body may not be so great, but I dare say that's something he'd work on, and I think this will be another great fight and another result fight.
All first round losses too. Those TKOs.
And UFC 84 was his debut. Used to fight in Deep organisation. Well, if there's not one for the line, then if he was headlining that card,
Oh, you reckon the cunts go to deep?
I reckon
Go deep into the cunts?
go deep cunts.
Deep dong.
So you reckon both of these guys now leave the UFC, go back to deep, and you got Dong versus cunts going deep.
deep dong cunts.
Deep Impact featuring dong and cunts.
So who's going to win?
Got to go to dong.
Who's fighting? I think Josh Berkman might get across the line.
I think the stun gun's got this one.
Nah, I'm all about the dong.
We know that.
Last fight of the preliminary card, we got John the Magician Dodson versus Zach Funsize Makovsky.
Now, if fun size isn't another dick joke, I can't see what is. Because
Did you say cunt?
actually, with the chocolate bars, fun size. What the fuck is fun size? Is the tiniest. That's horseshit anyway. Fun size should be the biggest.
Yeah, I think we're stealing stand-up comedy acts from 1984 now. Now, this is a funny old fight, being the last of the prelim card and not on the main event.
Yep.
You were saying John Dodson's not last fight, but he's had a win over Moraga.
Yep.
In his last outing, which was mid last year.
Yep.
And Moraga's on the main card, and Dodson's not.
He is. What I was thinking, because Dodson's got his hand up for the next title shot against Demetrius Johnson. And I know that they've had problems with that weight division in not getting the credibility that they deserve as mixed martial artists. And Dodson spoke about it. I know Rogan speaks about it all the time as well. And so what I'm thinking is that maybe putting Dodson on the undercard or the prelims, which means he headlines the Fox free fights.
The free fights.
Which means they can start building up some sort of personality behind him and then start building up that fight against Dodson and really bringing awareness to that division, because probably the worst thing about it is that DJ is just flogging everyone.
Well, I mean, there's something in that too. I mean, Uriah Hall said the same thing, that he'd rather be the main event on the undercard, if that's the free fight.
Uriah Faber, I think. Yeah.
Uriah Faber, sorry. Misha Tate, I think, has said the same thing.
She did.
And I was thinking about that today with Demetrius Johnson. He's not the most charismatic guy either, because I think that there's a bit of a myth that people don't want to see the lighter weights, because right now, Conor McGregor, people will watch. He's not a heavyweight by any stretch of the imagination. But he obviously sells himself and can back it up in the ring.
Did you see Jenna Jameson came out saying she's a massive fan of Conor McGregor?
She came out and said she's a massive fan of everyone. She had Warney, she had a soccer player. I think she's just a massive fan of attention.
Yeah, that too.
That too. Now, where were we going with that?
Yeah, I had something else as well.
Demetrius Johnson. And people watching the lighter weight fighters, and how there's a different level of appreciation of the lighter weight fighters. The heavyweights, you want to see them toe to toe, belting the piss out of each other. The lighter weight fighters tend to be a bit more cerebral, and it's more of a mixed martial art. They've each got their own game, and they're each trying to impose that chess match on each other, and that's what I think a lot of people need to learn to appreciate in the lighter weight fighters.
I don't know if it's that technical. For me, the lighter fighters, they just seem to be they are full on. Let's go bang bang bang, and it's so fast. One of the criticisms has always been they lack that knockout power. And I don't know how many finishes Demetrius Johnson has in his career, but it's obviously it's less than what you'd expect out of a heavyweight, for example. But I mean, I don't think that it's such an issue.
I mean, if you saw, if you had some sort of comparison with significant strikes versus knockouts or TKO finishes within those weight divisions, at a complete guess, I would say you'd probably find more in the high weight divisions. I think that's reasonable to expect.
Yeah, I think the heavyweights definitely have more one-punch knockout power.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that at all. But the lighter guys tend to punches in bunches. They'll throw 4 or 5 hit combos, or they'll mix a knee in or a kick in. And I think they tend to be a bit more complete.
Yeah, especially the pace that these guys will push for a full 5-round fight, if it happens to be a 5-rounder. This one's not, it's only 3. But it is non-stop action all the way through. You won't see rest periods or anything like that, especially from John Dodson.
Yeah, I mean,
pushes such a pace.
The super lightweight, the flyweights and below have to be top-class athletes with great cardio. Just because you can't survive otherwise. Some of them will have a fairly decent weight cut, but a lot of them, they wouldn't walk around a lot heavier than that.
Something we were looking when we were checking out the history of these two fighters. Zach Makovsky has actually replaced John Dodson before and got the win.
Yeah, Scotty Jorgensen, who's no slouch.
No slouch at all. So again, it's another great fight they've put together. And both guys, look, if Dodson gets a win, he's back in the title picture. If Zach gets a win, I think he can start to make claims to that.
Yeah, well, like we were talking about before with the recognition in this category, DJ actually came out and said that as far as he was concerned, he's a fighter, and he thought that if he kicks people's ass, then it's up to the UFC to promote him and do all that sort of stuff. He didn't want to, and said, I got no interest in being a promoter. That's not what I do. I fight. I thought if I take care of my end inside the cage, then the rest take care of itself. So I think he's felt a bit disrespected in that sense.
And he's got a point, because there is proof in that. I mean, like we mentioned Conor McGregor, he's the antithesis of that, and someone like a Chael Sonnen who wants to promote their own fights, and it works for them. But you have a look at Anderson Silva and GSP. Yeah, neither of them are big guys on the microphones or anything like that.
Not at all.
But you'll come and watch them because they fucking win.
Yep.
So I think Demetrius Johnson is caught in that sort of middle land.
Yeah.
If he was 30 pounds heavier, would it make a difference?
Yeah.
You don't know.
And I mean, would that affect his fighting style too?
I think, though, the comparison with Anderson Silva, he did stuff that was pretty entertaining in the ring.
Exactly.
And GSP, he did a bit of trash talking in his time. I'm not very impressed with you, with what you do. His old,
Yeah, but I think I saw the cue cards on that
yeah.
one.
He
Not impressed with your performance.
not the best actor, but those guys had such long winning streaks it didn't even matter.
At the end of the day, you keep winning.
And although to be honest, I could take or leave GSP's fights. His last few, they were,
Well, that's the thing. As I was saying, if you're exciting in the ring, racking up big wins or wins losses doesn't matter.
Yep.
If you've got a big long winning streak and they're boring ass fights, then you're struggling to fill arenas.
and I think that's my opinion. A lot of boxing as well. Like they call it a fight, but it's not. It's a boxing match. And if you can punch the guy and run away, you can win. That's fine. And I think some UFC fighters have that same mentality. They'll try and win by points. But legitimate way to do it. It's just not that entertaining.
These two are not those people either.
No, that's the great part.
John Dodson's a fucking ninja.
No,
I tell you, he is exciting as fuck. So before we bore you out of this weight division, watch John Dodson, okay? Because this is an exciting weight division.
See, now here's the problem, because John Dodson is exactly that. He is energy personified, and he's always fucking smiling.
Yep.
Great. I think if he was the title, this division would... if he had the title, this division would be doing a lot better.
Yep.
He has 16 wins, 10 by a finish.
Yep.
But you look at the other end of the cage, you got Zach, who has 19 wins with 12 decisions.
Yep.
So that's why it goes the antithesis.
Yeah.
For that reason, that's why I'm hoping John Dodson wins, because I want Dodson to win.
Yeah,
I'm a Dodson
I think Dodson will get there. I think maybe you get a finish, but more than likely it'll be a decision. I think it'll be wrestling versus... don't even know what you call Dodson.
Ninja was the best. Yeah.
Go with Ninja.
Okay, so now on to the main card for UFC 187. 5 fights on the main card, which is good. And like we're saying, this is the biggest card they've put together this year.
Yep.
What else I thought was interesting is 5 fights, 5 weight divisions. So they're really trying to show the breadth of talent they got.
Yep.
So they got flyweight, heavyweight, lightweight, middleweight, and then light heavyweight.
Yeah, I didn't notice that until you pointed it out.
There you are. Yeah, something interesting I noticed this morning. So we got on the first fight of the main card, Joseph Benavidez versus John Moraga. And like we're saying, this is again in the flyweight division, the same as Dodson and Makovsky.
Yep.
Who and these guys have all fought each other a lot. I think Moraga's got 2 losses to Dodson.
I think he's got 2 to Dodson, 1 to DJ, I believe.
2 to Dodson, 1 to Demetrius Johnson, and Benavidez has 2 losses to Demetrius Johnson.
Yeah.
In title fights, so they're all in and around that.
Yeah.
It's a bit like the women's bantamweight. They're a touch below.
And it seems like a mix up between that and when we had JDS and Kane in the heavyweights.
Yeah.
Just those two, and we're hoping someone gets to that level. But.
Daylight next, yeah.
Yeah.
So Benavidez coming out of Team Alpha Male as well, who have been on a tear lately.
They've been doing very well.
Yeah.
Got a title down there now, so it's giving a bit of confidence. It's just a matter of trying to hold on to it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I think we're going to see... there are no slouches in this main event cards.
Yep.
The pay-per-view cards. This fight has just got class written all over it. It's going to be go from bell to bell.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if you put money on this card and you can pick the card, you deserve whatever odds any Vegas man will get you.
Yeah.
Because I think there's so many fights that can go either way, depending on who turns up, how they turn up on the night, how they prepare. There's no lay-down misere of the card at all, I don't think.
And there's no middle names either, which I'm out of jokes.
Yeah, where's the nicknames?
Yeah,
we're on the main card. We've had a main card worth of nicknames in the preliminary and the fight pass, letting us down.
Somewhere Bruce Buffer is crying.
That's
maybe we can help him out then. Joseph Benavidez. Fuck, actually, that's a bit of a hard one.
You were going full improv there. I got this. Oh shit.
Joseph Benavidez.
Bender was Mexican. Benavidez isn't, but it sounds like he's been.
He's probably been by Mexico at some stage.
I think we can say with a certain level of confidence that there's some Latino background there somewhere.
Yep.
So yeah, Bender. There you go. Done.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. You can send the check to clickingballs.com. And John Moraga. John Krav Moraga.
Done.
Yeah. Solving problems today.
I'm a solutions man.
The actual fight.
Fuck the fight.
Yeah, I think Bender gets this one.
Yeah, I think Bender's got it.
Tell you what, it's going to be a really interesting fight because the repercussions of these Jodson fight and this fight are really serious in regards to how they're going to shape the title fights for the future of this weight division.
Yeah.
So saying that, I think Moraga might just get across the line, but this is anyone's to take, and both these fighters are in with a chance.
I imagine during this fight, Mighty Mouse is going to be in the front row, and they're going to show lots of camera cuts to him.
Funny enough, with Team Alpha Male there, this is probably going to be the best view you'll have of a fight. Because the front row's going to be full of people that are like 4'5".
Second row, good one for you.
Yep. This one's for the ones at the nosebleeds.
All right, so Benavidez, same for you, everyone.
Yep, all on it.
All on Joseph.
I had Moraga, so.
Okay, the heavyweight fight from the main card, and what a fight it is.
Yeah.
Travis Brown versus Andrei Arlovski.
Yeah.
Heavyweight is the right division. This is such a good fight.
When you talk about warriors, these two have put their hand up, and we're talking about Mark Hunt in the UFC Adelaide.
Yep.
Andrei Arlovski has that same sort of background where he's been fighting all over the place, just loves to get in there and brawl, and he's been taking on people that are bigger than him, and he's been knocking them out. So.
Dude, just recently, actually, I was on YouTube, saw his episode of Bully Beatdown.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I
dear
haven't seen
fuck.
it.
Yeah, he did what he had to do.
Can you imagine, like, if you're a regular bloke and then Andrei Arlovski's across the ring from you, with the canine claw mouth guard,
beard.
Yep.
and he looks like he belongs in some sort of paranormal zoo where they keep werewolves and shit. In fact, how his nickname isn't the werewolf, I don't know. I think they missed a massive opportunity there. Pit bulls are fine, but he is just a savage brawler, and love watching him fight.
Yeah, guaranteed this fight, it's just going to be highlight reel after highlight reel.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't schedule it for 5 rounds, or even, I don't think 3 rounds is going to happen.
I'm surprised there's still 3 fights to come after this. The ring might not still be up.
Yeah, exactly. Either that or there's going to be plenty of blood all over it because these two people would just really like to stand there and bang.
The next guy's in, which I think is Cowboy and someone else.
Stay with this fight?
Yeah. No, the next guy's in better be ready because this fight won't last long, I don't think. It could go either way, but I think it'll be a big time, not a long time.
Travis Brown's last fight was against Brendan Schaub. Both these guys have got wins against Schaub. Was that the fight where Schaub had the conversation with Joe Rogan afterwards?
Yeah, it was. Schaub, he came out and he was talking about that fight, and he said he actually got knocked out by Brown with one of his punches, I believe, and he goes, I turned into a white belt. Like, I knew what I had to do, but I just couldn't do it, and I was just done. He said, then I got another punch, and I came back. I came too, so I was ready to keep fighting. By that point, the referee had already stepped in and called it off, and he's like, what? But I'm ready to keep going.
I'm awake now.
Yeah, and so I think we actually give the assist to Travis Brown for retiring Schaub down to the light heavyweight.
Yep.
Rogan gets the full points for it.
Yeah, definitely the assist to there. But I mean, look at Travis Brown recent history.
Yep.
I mean, there's no scrubs whatsoever.
Holy shit!
You got Bigfoot, you got Gabriel Gonzaga, Alistair Overeem, Josh Barnett, Fabricio.
I think the Overeem one, he really exposed Overeem's glass jaw.
Yeah,
and everyone's Overeem was built up to be this wrecking machine. The next Brock Lesnar when Lesnar jumped out and.
Well, when he kicked Lesnar out.
Well, yeah.
Literally.
And then Brown comes in and just lights him up. And it really destroyed Overeem's reputation, I think, that fight.
Well, you look at his history, and I'm just starting to question whether he's actually a fighter or if he's a Sasquatch hunter. I mean, he's taken out Gonzaga, he's taken out Silver, he's taken out Overeem. He's taken out Barnett, Verdum, Schaub. I reckon he's just looking for Bigfoot, and these are the people that come into his path, so he takes them out.
He does have a nice one over McSweeney as well, which anyone who remembers that the heavyweight series of Tough will remember that McSweeney was a twat.
Yeah, most were, weren't they?
Overrated. Actually, he had a loss to Verdum. But yeah, if the Sasquatch hunter is what you're calling him, then you look at the hairy bastard across the cage. It's right in his wheelhouse, this one, then, isn't it?
And I think Arlovski's only called the Pitbull because werewolves weren't cool when he started fighting.
Actually, I remember seeing one of Arlovski's fight where he shaved down, like he had a regular haircut, no beard, and I'm just like, what the fuck? This just isn't right.
He still sucked.
I think he got beat actually, but he still had the vampire mouthguard, which that's his trademark. But this is going to be a hard fight to pick Because it really just depends on who gets that first heavy punch in.
Let's be honest, if you're picking this fight, you're just guessing.
Oh, shit, yeah.
I tell you what, I know how it's going to finish. It's going to finish by TKO. I just don't know who.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly right.
No, look, I'm behind. I think Travis Brown is going to get it done. Andrei Arlovski's been excellent since he's come back to the UFC.
Yeah.
Very
been
popular
excellent for years.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll always be on whenever you see a highlight reel of knockouts, you'll always see him get knocked out by Fedor. Yeah. That big flying, when you come in for flying.
Yeah, that's not a short knockout reel, though.
Yeah,
Fedor's knockouts.
But the thing is, he was giving Fedor a touch-up before that happened. He was getting beaten, and he just happened to go to a flying knee when he backed him in the corner, and Fedor knocked him the fuck out.
Precious few can say they had more than a minute's dominance over Fedor.
Yeah, at least in his prime. And this wasn't his prime. It was actually in a ring. That's how old it was.
I think Travis.
I'm on Arlovski. Just because, like you said, it can go either way. Just depends who gets that first heavy combination in. Because if someone is on their back on the ground and the guy's not in guard, someone's getting the fuck beaten out of him.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go for Arlovski, only because we've already seen Hupper lose to Verdum, and I don't see Hupper giving too much to Kane at the moment. And the thing is, I've never said Arlovski would take it to anyone, but he always proves you wrong. So he's the person I'm going to go for.
Well, you can't put your house on either fighter, but it'll be a great fight to watch.
Yeah, awesome fight. Okay, the next fight is welterweight division. Donald Cowboy Cerrone versus John the Bull. Fucked it up. McDessie.
McDessie, yep.
I think this is one of the few fights where we can leave one of the fighters' nicknames alone. Cowboy Cerrone, he's got that.
Loves his hat.
Loves his hat. Gets
Loves
in
his
there. I dare say he's no stranger to a bit of boot scoot when he wants to.
One of the hardest working men in mixed martial arts, because he's always putting his hand up for a fight. It doesn't matter when his last one was. If somebody wants a late call up in a different weight division, Cerrone's there.
And the funny thing about Cerrone is he's not just always putting his hand up for a fight. He just wants to do anything to get that adrenaline pumping. I've never seen the interview where they talked about it. It might have been on one of the countdowns or something like that. But he says he's actually terrified of fighting. Like, fighting actually really scares him. So what he does is he goes out and he tries to do activities that scare him more than fighting. Right. So he goes skydiving, he goes bear hunting,
Bear hunting?
Yeah, he goes hunting and shit, goes water skiing, jet skiing, just does any high adrenaline sport he can do so that when he gets in the cage, he's not scared.
He's not scared anymore. Well, for somebody that's terrified of fighting, he certainly goes the worst way about it.
Bloody oath.
Just keeps putting his hand up.
Yep.
Which makes you got to love him as a fighter.
Yep.
The only sad thing about this fight is I so wanted to see him to fight.
Didn't everybody?
That is just that should be headlining any other card.
Yeah.
And here it would have been the third from the top. But John the Bull
McDessie
steps in at late notice. Some of the banter backstage at this card could be very interesting.
Well, it has.
Considering the Fear the Fighter controversy that's going on, and John Dodson is one of the blokes that's not too happy about it.
He is. And the other one is Gerhard Musasi, who actually fought on the Philippines card and had a win and had a lot to say about it as well.
Still, yeah. So there's pending legal action, I believe, and so some of the backstage banter could be one of the biggest fights of the night.
Well, yeah, especially considering Cowboy he's come out saying that the Reebok deal is going to cost him $60,000 on this fight. He would have had $60,000 more in terms of sponsorship had Reebok not had exclusive contracts with UFC. So both, one fighter's saying he's been shortchanged, the other fighter's been allegedly shortchanging other fighters. So money turns out to be a really big motivator in this fight. They both need money to pay their bills. One of them hasn't been, and one of them isn't getting paid.
13-3, John the Bull.
Yep.
So he's coming off a win against Shane Campbell, which I've got a feeling it was a call-up fight as well.
Yep.
It might have been Campbell was the late call in there. So it's good to see that he'd be making friends at the back office at least.
Well, it said it was a catch weight, so I'm guessing it must have been a late call-up.
I'm pretty sure. I just can't remember which one was the call-up.
Yeah.
But the Cowboy, one of my favourite fighters going around, like we said.
He's got to be one of everyone's favourite fighters, surely.
Oh,
How can you not like him stepping into the octagon?
He's exciting and he's a nice guy.
Should make the hair on your balls stand up.
I mean, what's he got? 7 wins in a row he's coming off.
Yep.
The last couple have been decisions, but they've been really exciting decisions.
They have,
I mean,
yeah.
remember those soccer kicks in there?
Yeah.
Was that against Miles Jury?
Yeah,
I
it was.
think?
And he's like, they just got good to me. Like, that was personal, those ones.
But the way he was winding it up, too,
Yep.
you know, it might be points. He's not going for a knockout.
Yep.
But he's going, I'm making sure this is fucking hurt.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I don't want to stand up. You stay there. I'll lay into him.
So I'm all about the Cowboy for this fight.
Well, it's pretty hard to overlook him, especially with a late call up with McDessie. If it was Khabib, it would be much more tough decision. But
Again, it's a shame because that would have been a title, number one contender.
Absolutely. And both riding huge amounts of hype.
Yep.
No, I just think I'm on Cerrone just because I think McDessie might have a bit of a hard time making it to the ring. Especially if some of the blokes backstage get hold of him. So if he's limping in, he's going out hard.
I tell you what, if McDessie gets a fight bonus, he gets to keep it.
He's not leaving the office with it.
There might be a few people hanging backstage. Hey, mate.
Anyway, he could get one thanks to Cerrone because Cerrone loves a big fight of the night bonus.
I hope that happens. I would love to see this get fight of the night bonus, and then just a few
for the
guys, guys hanging back.
Being serious though, it will struggle to get fight of the night with 2 title fights on the card, plus the heavyweight fight that we just spoken about, and some of the others. It's going to be one of the biggest contests of the night. It's going to be who gets those awards. But yeah, that's 3 of us, all for the Cowboy. Okay, and the first of the title fights on the night. I mean, first thing we talk about 2 title fights on the one card.
Yep.
Is it overstacking, do you think? Because obviously, we spoke about this could have been the first New York card, so they really did want to make sure it was a big one. Or was it overstacking, or was it just making sure they had at least one title fight happen because of people dropping out and whatnot?
They did have people dropping out.
Yeah, and they still kept the title fights in.
I think the big thing, they did want John Jones there, obviously, but it just turns out that was not meant to be. So
because Uncle Chael told us it would be, and it was.
Oh, Magic Shale, he loves our psychic predictions, and he was right.
The truth is that none of these fights are supposed to be in this card because Jones was supposed to fight, was it DC first or
he fought
Gustafsson. Then they got injured, so they had to put that off. And also, Weidman was supposed to fight Vitor ages ago. They had to put that off. And so it seems like this has been we can't have Weidman out any longer.
Yeah,
so he has to fight, otherwise they're going to take away his belt. And I mean, with the Jones one and Rumble, that was sort of only came about after Rumble started put on that domination. But
as soon as he came back in, the first one we got in the middleweight, Chris Weidman undefeated versus Vitor Belfort. Like you're saying, it's been nearly 12 months since we've seen Chris Weidman in the ring. Who's been his last 3 fights actually against Brazilians.
Yep.
Okay, 2 of them were Anderson Silva.
But not many people can say they've beat Anderson Silva twice.
Yeah, nobody can.
Exactly. Even though the first one you could say, broken leg.
No, that was the second one.
The second one,
The
sorry.
first one was the slip, which wasn't a slip at all.
Yeah, not the fuck
Where he
out.
was skiding off. He won.
Of course he did, yeah.
Won convincingly. And I don't think... Anderson Silva had a really long run, and fair play to him. And now his run's being cut short again due to outside
he's got banned
issues.
But Chris Weidman coming up against Vitor, I think it does depend on what kind of Vitor shows up.
Yeah.
Because we've seen, he's changed, he's dropped down divisions even since the rules about TRT and the rest of it have changed.
Yeah.
He was impressive in his last outing. Vitor, that is.
Been impressed in his last probably few outings, and that's just going down to that TRT question with, is he going to be as explosive as he has been in the last couple of years? He's going to be able to really put the pressure to Weidman, because Weidman's always going to come forward. That's his game.
Yeah.
He's a wrestler, he's strong, he's got good dirty boxing. He's going to look to put him on his ass and try and pound him.
He's awesomely well-rounded. The only thing I like to say is if this was Vitor 5 years ago, what a fantastic fight.
Yeah.
Well, even as he is now, his losses in recent memory are only to Anderson Silva and John Jones.
I mean, and a lot of people can say that.
There's not much shame in losing to those 2 guys, which are the most dominant fighters this generation, with probably GSP thrown in as well.
And almost beat John Jones too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That armbar.
Sunk in that armbar and it was hooked up. It did lots of damage to Jones's arm. Jones didn't tap.
So, I mean, his only losses are in title fights in the last few years.
Yeah.
And here he is in another title fight.
And he's going to be looking to take his head off. That's what his game plan is going to be. He's going to try and avoid getting too close. He's going to be trying to be in and out, sideways movement, throwing some wheel kicks. He wants to make him think. The only thing is you look out for the takedown. And Weidman fights out of Serra-Longo camp, so he's got great experience on the ground and great experience standing up. Yeah. Just a matter of how fit he's going to be. Coming off a rib injury, he's saying there's nothing wrong with it, but of course you're going to say that.
A lot of fighters have said that.
Yeah.
Even Manny Pacquiao said that shit.
Yeah.
It's going to be who comes in the better. But I mean, I think the champions. It's going to be Ann Still at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think so.
But the phenom. He can turn it on, and if he turns it on and starts with a flurry and one sneaks through, it can be over really quick.
And again, that's what we've been saying about this card. That it's very unpredictable. Anything could happen, and there's no sure bet, which makes for exciting fights. And I'm with you. I think Weidman, just for the sole fact he beat Silva twice.
Yeah.
To be the man, you got to beat the man, and if you can beat him twice, you become the man.
And just quietly, the last time a Vitor Belfort fight went the distance was 2007.
Well, another thing about Vitor, if he wins, will this be the longest spell between belts in an organisation for people?
Oh, I don't know. The only other person I can think comes close would be Randy Couture.
Because he was 19 when he got his first one.
Yeah.
Couture didn't start fighting until he was like 40 or something, I think. So.
You mean a gap between...
winning one belt and then
the next
getting
one.
it again.
First and last,
Look, if it isn't, then only because that's the only other one I can think of that has a real gap in between championships, because there's not many people that lost the belt and
actually got it back. I think
very few.
No, Mir didn't have interim, did he? Did he not get an interim?
He did. He until Lesnar.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But did he ever get the heavyweight way back in the day?
I don't think so. I think it was
Would have been around Tim Sylvia days, I reckon.
I don't think he had.
He had that bike accident too.
I think he was lining up for it, and then he didn't get it. So it'd be another great comeback story if Vitor gets it. But
absolutely,
I think the All-American's got this one.
Yeah, I really like watching Vitor Belfort fight. I think he's a fantastic fighter, but my money's just on Weidman.
Yeah. Weidman's got a good chin too. He can take some punches. He can take some damage. He's a big boy. He's really big.
Do you reckon he'll go the distance?
No, I don't.
I hope not. So then, on to the main event. I've got to say, in a way, the absence of John Jones is slightly disappointing because I thought that Anthony Johnson might be able to actually take it to him.
Yeah.
But having said that, DC versus Anthony Rumble Johnson, that's an awesome main event.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you can say what the fight isn't, but what the fight is more than enough for value for money. It's going to be a spectacular fight. It's going to be two guys that are so hungry to prove themselves. They're not just fighting the bloke in the ring. They're fighting the bloke that can't get in the ring as well. They want to pound each other so fucking hard that John Jones thinks, shit, I'm glad I'm not in there.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know if we'll ever see John Jones fight again.
No, I don't think we will either. But, you never know. If he does come back, whoever is the reigning champ at the time wants to make sure that Jones knows they're coming back into his house.
I reckon it's going to be obviously an amazing fight. I think it might make it interesting with the wrestling backgrounds of these two and being a bit more stand up and bang and then get into wrestling. It's not as freaky as John Jones is doing things that only he can do. It's going to be a bit more predictable in what's going to happen. Obviously, Johnson's going to come out and just go balls to the wall, throw leather. He's a huge unit. He's a big dude. He is now. And the thing is, you don't block his punches. Even if he punches you in the arm, that shit fucking hurts, man.
But I mean, DC, he's fought big punches before. I mean, he's got a win over Roy Nelson, and Bigfoot, and even if you go way back, so are the Hulk. There's big guys he's fought and dominated and controlled them.
And even with the John Jones fight, it went the distance. Like, plenty of fighters don't go the distance with Jones.
Yeah, it went the distance, but
it was never close.
No, Jones had it locked up.
It was DC wanted one takedown, and he was like, "Yep, got my takedown."
And then Jones got about 6.
I think the only surprise was the scores were as close as they were.
Yeah.
because there should have been some 10-8.
Oh, there was more action in the press conferences, let's be honest.
Leading up to the fight.
From DC.
But, when you talk about strikers, you've got victories over Frank Mir, Roy Nelson, two very powerful heavyweights. And then, he's fought a whole wide range. Henderson's no slouch by any means.
Well, he won the Strikeforce heavyweight tournament as a late replacement.
Yeah.
And if you saw the competition he was fighting, he was oversized by a fairly decent amount in each fight and beat them all. And if you saw the way through Dan Henderson around, he's definitely got the strength there.
Yeah, didn't he? DC's wrestling's always been his base.
Yeah.
And the last time we saw him fight was the John Jones fight where his wrestling was embarrassed.
Yep.
So he's really needs to come out and make a statement.
And he did talk before he had that fight against John Jones, before he dropped down to the light heavyweight division, that he wasn't sure how he'd be able to get down to that weight due to health reasons. He almost died cutting weight one time, so he was concerned about that. So I wonder if a bit more exposure down to light heavyweight might work in his favour. A bit more confident now, a bit more into a routine on how to cut weight.
Well, I guess it's also a bit easier to get motivated to cut weight when you've got a second shot at the title that you just lost.
Yeah.
If Dana White comes after you've lost the title fight and says, "Do you want another title fight?"
Yep.
You don't say no.
Yep.
So if he doesn't die with the weight cut, he's going to try and fucking do it.
But if weight cut's his problem, and this is a late call up, albeit he's had 6 weeks, or thereabouts, but it's a late call up. He hasn't fought since the John Jones fight. He's done a lot of commentary.
Yeah, but the only other thing is that he's very, very close training partners with Cain Velasquez. And Cain's just starting to come back from... Well, not starting to. He's starting to get into real serious competition.
Proper,
and DC's his main training partner. So I don't think he'd be that too much out of shape, which would give him the confidence to take this fight. But it's a matter of if he's healthy, because he'll be training with Cain Velasquez, not to fight, but as, pretty much the training dummy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You pick up lots of nicks when you do that sort of stuff.
How far away? Kane's still a while away from fighting again.
Yeah, but I'm guessing this is all assumptions. I'm guessing if you're going to obviously go back to get your title back, you want to know you can do it from the start. You know what I mean?
I don't think Kane's scheduled to fight in the next 6 months or so. So how can you fight if he's your main training partner,
right? And
you can't go flat out with him because he's still coming back from the injury?
Yep.
There's an issue there. But obviously, he's coming out of a great camp. There are lots of other monsters.
Rockhold down there, I think.
Yeah.
But even Cain Velasquez coming out of injury, he's still one tough motherfucker.
Yeah, he is.
Absolutely.
But you're not going to go hard against him.
No, true.
Especially if he's got a bad knee.
And the thing is, I think Cain could really do a good impression of Anthony Johnson in the training gym. They both look like they're just shaped like a juggernaut or something. They've got this big head, looks like it was
built for fight.
Built to,
someone's just added biceps to a potato.
Yeah, pretty much.
And speaking of cutting weight, that was one of the biggest hurdles in Anthony Rumble Johnson's career for a long time.
Yeah.
So it looks like now that he's actually settled on his proper weight division, he's gone from strength to strength. We talk about comebacks.
Yeah.
The way he took it to Gustafsson was scary, and that's why I was so looking forward to him versus John Jones.
And look at his resume. He's had a fight against Dan Hardy at welterweight. When you see Anthony Johnson fight, just have a look at that frame and try and imagine him in GSP's weight category. It's fucking impossible.
I think that might have been one of the fights that was scheduled for welterweight, but it's actually
could have been too. Yeah.
You had a lot of those fights.
Yeah, but just trying to get down to that and failing miserably seems kind of funny. It's taking so long to get up here.
Well, there has been talk recently about changing the weigh-in procedure, so you actually weigh in on the day.
I like it.
I'm up for it because I think the weight cutting they do can be pretty dangerous, and we have seen fighters come in and they don't look right. It may very well be they didn't sleep the night before or whatever, but some of it has to be the fact that they dropped 30 pound in a week and they've just come in too weak.
The only problem with that is that they did that with boxing and people would still cut weight and then they still fight. And so I didn't stop them doing that. But here's what I thought, because I've been thinking about it, is that I'm sure there's some way to figure out what water content you've got in your body, like percentage-wise or something.
Yeah, they do either conductivity tests or they can do a combination of X-rays and ultrasound and that sort of thing.
So what if you had to make weight within a certain percentage of it being water? Because the main problem with that was that your brain, the water that encases it shrivels up, so that when you take any shots to the head, it does a lot more damage than what it should do because there's not much water in there protecting your brain.
Yeah, the only problem with it is how do you taper yourself down as you're going in, unless you've got...
You move up weight division, so it's not unsafe.
No,
That's the whole point.
But say if we do that, so you've got a percentage of water weight.
Yep.
How do you measure that?
Well, you just said they can.
Yeah, with very expensive machinery on the day. If you're in a training camp, you're not going to have access to a $300,000 ultrasound scanning machine.
No, but you're going to err on the side of caution because you have to have that fight. And so obviously the UFC is going to have that there available for you, at least somewhere.
It certainly makes it harder.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if it means saving some fighters' lives, because we have had, not in the UFC, but we have had fighters die through weight cutting.
Yeah.
In Brazil, I think it was maybe last year.
That was the last one, yeah.
But look, I'm the same. You hate to see the fighters come in there and look emancipated.
Yeah.
Emaciated.
Hopefully
they're all emancipated.
They freed the fucking slaves too. Some of them look like fucking slaves when they come in. They're that fucking skinny. Emaciated.
I was going to say we just got on from M1, didn't we?
Yeah, look, I mean, I don't like the weight cuts either.
Yeah, I hate it.
But
heavyweight for the win.
I think the answer is have a look at somebody like Rumble Johnson, who was struggling to cut weight.
Yep.
Now he's gone into his natural weight division.
Yep.
He's one fight away from being fucking champion.
Yep.
So what does that say?
And I think
you don't need to fight at the lower weights.
One thing that I've kind of wanted to see for a while, we've seen so often UFC fighters who are coming off their third loss just get cut. Why get rid of them? Why not, say once a month, bring back the old tournament, open weight, open rules. They go into an 8-man elimination. Everyone who doesn't win loses their contract. They're going to lose it anyway. Fuck it. And you're going to get some poor bastard weighing in at 125 fighting a Roy Nelson size bloke, but shit, still pretty entertaining. And if you're going to lose your job anyway, fuck it. You don't need to turn up.
Yeah, I think the Nevada Athletic Commission might have a problem with it.
Well, they didn't back in the day.
Exactly. They didn't have a piece of it either back in the day. That's the problem.
That's true.
One thing I was thinking about, now you mentioned tournaments and things like that, for the finales of Ultimate Fighter and shows like that where it's supposed to be an exhibition, I don't understand why you couldn't have one 8-minute round tournament that had 3 rounds. So you had 3 levels of the tournament fighting one 8-minute round, which makes 24 minutes of total fight time, which is under the 25 minutes of a title fight.
Yeah, I mean, there's reasons you can do it. I mean, tournaments are one of the greatest things to If you watch a tournament in one night,
exactly.
Especially when you talk jiu-jitsu, you can see that kind of thing.
Yeah,
back in the day, UFC 1 through to 20 or whatever it was. Yeah, it was exciting. And it's certainly one thing that's missing.
Yeah, or hell, maybe the UFC can just resurrect the pride flag and just have that only as elimination tournaments fighting out of Japan.
I think they don't ever see the word pride ever again. That's just like a stuck in their craw, that one.
There's probably still a bit of money owed.
They got some really expensive stickers and some gloves.
But look, I mean, back on this fight, Rumble is on an absolute tear. His win over Phil Davis, especially, I think, tunes him up for this fight.
Yeah.
Because Phil Davis and DC are similar fighters. DC does everything Phil Davis does better.
Yep, I agree.
I don't know what DC is going to come in to the octagon, which is why I think Rumble, young man Rumble.
Oh, look, everything Rumble does is fantastic. And I think a lot of experts are going to tip Rumble, and I'm hard pressed to come up with a reason why he wouldn't win, but I'm going to go for Cormier anyway. Fuck it.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, it's not any means given, but I'm going to go for Rumble. And speaking about talk about John Jones, I think he will come back as a heavyweight, but probably not for a good 3 years.
You're in a big layoff.
I reckon a big layoff because you go to jail. But, obviously, you're going to pump weights in jail. You're going to come out. You're going to fucking want to fight cunts. Well, probably not cunts. We fight someone in his weight division.
Yeah, cunts is
welterweight. Yeah.
But look, I actually would love to see John Jones fight a heavyweight because I think he would get fucking pounded. Because what he does is brilliant, but a lot of that is based on his speed. And I think with the extra muscle mass against guys that have a lot of super heavyweight muscle mass, he might struggle.
You say that, but DC was undefeated at heavyweight, and John Jones manhandled him.
And the thing is,
it wasn't even close.
John Jones only has to weigh 216 to fight a heavyweight. You don't have to weigh the 260, and a lot of them are cutting down now because that's just the way they found effective to fight heavyweight. Like they all seem to be between 230, 240 at fight weight.
Look, I think if he goes up to heavyweight, John Jones can compete with Kane, with JDS, and Verdun, who are at the top of that class. I think he can take it to him.
Ooh, I would love to see him versus
I
Verdun.
think he will, because
Yeah,
he's only young and he's growing.
Yeah, absolutely. You tend to go up in the weight
I'd
division.
love to see him versus Rockhold or something like that, like in his middleweight. Sorry, no, Rockhold's middleweight, isn't he?
You could be.
I can't remember. Anyway,
So we got 2 Rumbles and 1 DC. But one thing that is guaranteed is that at the end of it, we'll hear "and new"
yep.
from Buffer.
And that's got to hurt Jones, doesn't he? Just obviously knows it's going to happen, but just hearing
if
someone say "and new,"
if he's not high as balls, then yeah, it probably would hurt him. But
although
chances are he might just be off the fucking planet.
So do you think whoever gets the "and new" is it still with an asterisk because Jones is out there and didn't lose the title, even though they got it taken off him?
Nah, you still get the belt. I mean, yeah, you didn't beat Jones, but Jones beat himself.
I'd like to say no, because it is a legit championship and they are the legit light heavyweight championship of the world. But in my mind, there'll always be that thing we brought up.
Yeah.
Where I can't say this fight, in the future, I won't be able to say this fight happened without mentioning John Jones vacated, got that title stripped.
How long have we spent talking about John Jones?
Yeah.
On the other side of the coin, and look, I agree, but to play devil's advocate, you have a look at the heavyweight division, which has an interim title with Fabricio Verdum, who's come out and said, this ain't no interim title, this is the real title. Kane hasn't fought in nearly 2 years.
Yep.
I love that attitude.
Yeah, me too.
Like, if you're the champion, you got to fight. If you're not fighting, you're not the champion. Having said that, I think still in 6-12 months' time, we're still going to be talking about whoever the champion is. Yeah, but could they beat Jones?
Yep.
It's the shame of this card.
But I think while you say it's a shame, it's a brilliant opportunity for 2 very hungry athletes, and I just love the fact that this is for a belt.
Yeah,
because so often you see the number 1 contender fight where, a guy gets injured but he wins, and then he's no longer the number 1 contender, and it drops back a bit, and then there's a long layoff, and it gets a bit muddy. But with this one, straight winner, you get the belt, bang, job done.
I mean, that's the reason DC dropped down to this division, because he couldn't challenge Kane for the belt because they were stable mates.
Yeah.
So he wanted a belt. Here he is for his second shot at the light heavyweight.
And for this fight, obviously it was a short notice, so the build-up wasn't as big as the Jones and Rumble package that they already had. But they both have talked about if this is a legitimate championship in the media lead up to this. And both of them are on the same page, said, yeah, it is. Look, we didn't make Jones do what he did.
Yep.
All we did, we train, we fight, and we fight whoever's in front of us. He said, look, would I prefer to beat Jones? Absolutely. But that's just not what I can do. So all I can do is fight that person.
Fight the man across the cage.
And they've been very amicable in their pre-media talk. And one thing is, I mean, obviously you know DC as a personality, so you'll have a bit more of insight into who he is. But Anthony Johnson's one of the nicest guys going around.
Yeah.
Like him and Tyron Woodley. The way they are in the media, just so respectful, so down to earth, compassionate, and just empathetic towards their fighters.
John Owen Woodley.
Well, if there's anyone that was going to be sort of leaders of a fighters union, it'll be people like that.
Well, I think he's also very grateful that he's has his second shot at his career at the top level. And again, it's just a fantastic story if he goes home with a belt.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there we go. There's the fights for UFC 187.
Yep.
The biggest card of the year so far, and we'll be back afterwards to say how we think it went.
Yep.
Yeah, and look, if any of us managed to pick the card, I'm going to cry, because that would have been a fucking massive payout.
This would have been the last episode.
We'd be broadcasting from Monaco in the future.
Live from
fucking wherever we fucking are.
Go fuck yourself.
We'll be in the third row looking over the top of Team Alpha Male. All right, guys. Cheers.
Have a good one.